Assalamualaikum and good afternoon to Dr. Johnson and our group members. We are from group 7. Today we're gonna present about turbocharger engine system. Before we start, I would like to introduce our group member. First of all is Ahmad Syukran bin Muhammad Khairul Apnadi, Nur Alif Najmi bin Nasri, Filza Izzati Binti Basri, and Iffah Izyan Binti Faisal. So, what is a fluid dynamic? Fluid dynamic is the study of how fluid behave, whether they are moving or at rest, as well as how they interact with solid and other fluid at boundaries. Fluid static is the study of how fluid behave when they are at rest. So, what is a fluid? An element that is either liquid or gas, even a little shear force can cause a fluid to continuously distort. The relationship between stress and strain rate apply to fluid. Fluid never cases deforming under a constant shear force, and the rate of stirring is nearly constant, which is a solid can resist and apply shear stress by deforming, but a fluid uh, sorry. A solid stress is proportional to strain, and a solid eventually stop deforming at the fixed at strength angle. Next, introduction of turbocharger. So here, an internal combustion engine intake air pressure can be increased by using a turbocharger, which is made composed of a compressor wheel and exhaust gas turbine wheel connected by a solid shaft. The exhaust gas turbine use the energy extracted from the exhaust gas to the power compression and reduce friction. That's all from me, and I would like to give uh, to Alif Najmi for the next. Thank you.
Alright. Thank you to Filza Izzati. Before we go deeper, I would like to tell about turbocharger system diagram. I will tell I will let know about the what part in the turbocharger system and the functional of every part in turbocharger system. In the figure 1 of the left side shown about the turbocharger system diagram. I divide three parts of turbocharger system, which is the first part is a turbine. As we know, turbine is function to bring ambient air into the inlet and to bring out the exhaust fuses. And the second part in the turbocharger system is compressor. The compressor function is to bring compressed air at increased temperature and bring out the cooler air existing CAC into the engine. The third part is center hub rotating. As we know, beside that we can call that as a engine. Okay, I will go to the turbine. In the right side, we can see the picture of a turbine. The turbine have seven part, the seven main component, uh, and the seven component is function to bring the ambient air and bring out the exhaust fuses. At the right side, it was shown the inlet for ambient air, and the left side is outlet for exhaust fuses. Next, and the second part is a compressor. We know the compressor have two part, which is the high temperature to in, and the outlet is a low temperature in. In the compressor, have a charged air cooler, which is have solid round tube and inline pin place. That it process the high temperature into the coolest or low temperature. And the third part is center hub rotating, or we call it engines. In engine, it have five main parts. First part is a piston, followed by crankshaft, and then we have a counterweight, manifold, and flywheel. Okay, that's all for me. Thank you.
So here I would like to explain about type of turbocharged engine system. First is single turbo. Single turbo is offer excellent variability, is a very effective in increasing car engine power. This type of turbo is relatively easy to install, and the addition of a single turbocharged result is the same ability as a larger, heavier machine, generally aspirated to improve performance. Second is twin turbo. Twin turbo is parallel twin turbine can be placed sequentially or in the other composition to increase torque and engine power. While the downside is the cost and complexity of placement, as it doubles the number of turbo as element required. Three is twin scroll turbo. As you can imagine, these pools easily overlap and interfere with each other during turbo ignition, and the twin scroll turbocharge solve this problem by using a split inlet turbine housing and especially exhaust manifold that mount the correct cylinder to each cylinder scroll. Fourth is VGT. VGT is variable geometry turbocharge. It's an expensive and complex power solution that is very common in diesel engine. The VGT has an aerodynamically shaped vane ring inside the turbine housing that can charge its area to radius ratio to match the engine's rotation. Fifth is a variable twin scroll turbocharge. As you accelerate, the valve open to allow air into the other scroll. This is fully variable process, meaning the valve open in a small increment. You get good height and performance, and you can get the kind of performance from a single turbo that you can usually only get from a twin turbo setup. And then lastly is electric turbocharge. The electric turbocharge conversion is a state-of-the-art compressor that provide an instant boost to the engine until the turbocharge has wound up enough. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you to Iffah Izyan. I would like to explain about principle of fluid mechanics in the turbocharger. Okay, in a turbocharged engine system, fluid mechanics principle play a clear role in the functioning of the engine. Here are the basic working principle of fluid mechanics in a turbocharged engine system. Okay, first, the compressor use the principle of Bernoulli equation, which state that as the velocity of a fluid, in this case is air, increase, its pressure will be decreased. This principle is used to compress the informing air. Second, turbine. Turbine is use the principle of Newton's third law of motion, which state that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Third is intercooler. The intercooler use the principle of heat transfer, which state that heat will always flow from a hotter object to a cooler object. Okay, last one is exhaust system. The exhaust system use the principle of fluid dynamics, which describe the behavior of fluid in motion. The exhaust gas leaving the engine have a high velocity and can create a lot of turbulence. The exhaust system is designed to minimize the turbulence and resistance to the flow of exhaust gas, which improves the efficiency of the engine. Overall, fluid mechanics principles are critical in the functioning of turbocharged engine system, and their proper application is necessary for achieving optimal performance. Okay, we go to the calculation for working principle. Okay, the flow process of the turbocharger can be analyzed using a number of equation and calculation, which are based on the principal fluid mechanics. Here is simply calculation of the flow process of turbocharger. First is mass flow rate. The mass flow rate is the amount of air that pass through the turbocharger per unit time, and it can be calculated using the equation m dot equal to rho AV. Okay, next is pressure ratio. The pressure ratio is the ratio of the outlet pressure to the inlet pressure of the turbocharger, and it can be calculated using a equation PR equal P out divide P in. Okay, third is compressor efficiency. The compressor efficiency is a measure of how well the compressor is able to compress incoming air, and it can be calculated using the equation that here. Fourth is temperature rise. The temperature rise is the increase in temperature of the air as it passes through the turbocharger, and it can be calculated using the equation delta T equal to T out minus T in divide to T in. Okay, last one is power output. The power output of the turbocharger is the amount of work done by the turbine in driving the compressor, and it can be calculated using the equation of W dot equal to M dot time delta H. Okay, this calculation can be used to optimize the performance of a turbocharged engine system by selecting the appropriate turbocharger size and configuration and adjusting the compressor and turbo design to maximize efficiency and power output. Okay, that's all from us about the principle of turbocharger engine. Thank you.